Welcome to Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Unlearn the Crap TV is more than just a show. It's a movement towards breaking free from the disempowering structures designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's about education, healing, and unlearning the detrimental beliefs that have been ingrained in society for generations. So now, please welcome the host of Unlearn the Crap TV, Kathy Baldwin.
Welcome back to another episode of Unlearn the Crap and Level Up because your soul is calling. Today, I am so excited. I know I'm excited about all my guests, but today is even more special of a guest because I have Alexi here. And when her and I met yesterday, I said to her, I want to stop talking to you because this is too good. I don't want to waste anything about what her and I were uncovering and sharing because I wanted to share it here with you on my audience. So, as you know, Unlearn the Crap is about the conditioned responses and automatic programming. It is about the societal shoulds and the limiting beliefs. And it is about our societal structures that tell us what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to do, and how we're supposed to do. It is those things that make us sick and diseased and stressed and burned out. It is the things that get in our way. I've just used this analogy today, so I'll share it again. It is like the mud from a landslide that is stuck in the middle of the road and is impeding our progress moving forward. Alexi, what crap did you need to unlearn so that you could level up?
Well, it's interesting because I was having this conversation with my friend Isabel, who you know, the other day, and I thought, I grew up being a perfectionist. In school, I was always about getting 100%, always like outdoing everybody. And even in sixth grade, I did all the homework for sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade halfway through the year. So my teachers said, we can't, you've done all the coursework for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, so we're going to double promote you, right? And so for me, being a perfectionist, getting straight A's, doing the right thing, always was my MO. And then when I realized that life wasn't about that and that I'm perfect as is, through different life challenges, in a way, it gave me the freedom to just be in the present moment and make decisions today based on my connection to my higher self, my connection to the universe, versus the automated, my Excel spreadsheet, checking everything off my to-do list. Like I know you're a fan of that, or were a fan of that. And I would make spreadsheets for days for everything. And so I had to be okay with not having such a structured, regimented way to do life, because I was doing life as opposed to living life.
Ah, I like the way you phrased that.
I was a human doing instead of a human being. Everything was always about my to-do list. Everything was always about achieving a result. And, and just full transparency, I'm still learning because part of me just wants my to-do list and just wants to achieve a goal. But then I achieve it and it just leaves me feeling empty inside. You know what I mean? Because it's not the actual thing I want. So I'm right now redefining, okay, what do I want? If I could have anything I want and I can achieve whatever, what do I want to do today? What do I want to do moment by moment? So I had to really unlearn how to be a perfectionist, how to be an overachiever, because that was my identity.
So there are so many things that you just finished talking about that we are going to unpack in more detail. Before we get to that, though, could you please tell everyone who's watching who you are and who you serve when you level up?
Yes. Well, I'm Alexi, and I am a life purpose expert, and I help women entrepreneurs uncover their purpose through the lines and fingerprints in their hands. And through what I call your life purpose blueprint, you're able to really understand how you personally are wired to succeed in life and wired to also fail, because your life lessons are revealed in your fingerprints as well. So you know how like you achieve a goal and just when you're celebrating it feels like the other shoe dropped, or you get kicked in the butt by the same pattern that you always do. It's like, why does this always happen to me just when things are going good? That's your life lesson. And so what I help women understand is it's not, and this helped me also unlearn the crap. It's not about achieving the goal. It's not about playing to your strengths. It's really about digging deep into what you perceive are weaknesses, because those are simply your lessons to learn in this lifetime. And those are actually the pathway to achieving whatever it is your heart and your soul desires in this incarnation.
Wow, you come at this from a totally different perspective than I do. So I am so, so excited. And I forgot I was going to give you a picture of my handprint, and we were going to do this
Yes.
but we got together so fast, I
Yes.
totally forgot to get it done. So I'm going to hit you up on that afterwards.
Yes.
But so I look at it, and the way I try to explain it to my clients is that our dreams, our goals, our ambitions, our desires for stuff,
Yes,
have been part of what's taken us out of alignment. We were taught things like get your head out of the clouds. Put your nose to the grindstone, come back to reality, all of these things. But I truly believe that our soul tries to speak to us in a language that we will understand.
Yes.
And so if we're living in a physical world, it will give us a physical inspiration to obtain, because it's not the goal that we obtain. It's not the house. It's not the car. It's not the perfect body. It's not any of these things, but it's what we have to do and who we have to become in order to achieve that.
Yes.
And so that came up for me while you were talking about having those to-do lists, and that we think once we get it, here it is, this is what I've been searching for. And then we get it and it's hollow.
Yes.
And it's empty. But if we look at it, that it was the journey, it was the becoming that we had to do in order to achieve that. That's what I believe our purposes of our dreams are. So tell me how you go about this, because you just finished saying that it is the our negatives, our challenges that lead us to our purpose. Please share yours.
Exactly. Well, mine in my fingerprints happens to be what's called the guilt lesson. And the guilt lesson, for anyone who can relate to this, it feels like a bell jar on your head that keeps clanging that says there's something wrong with you. The key word is wrong. So every time I would make a mistake, I remember in third grade, I missed 100% with one answer. It was something like, what is 12 times 12? Something like that. And I missed it. And I beat myself up like, what, at third grade? What is wrong with you? Why couldn't you get that? And ever since then, I made it a mission to perfect everything I did. And that, in hindsight, now as an adult, it was the guilt lesson. Like, I'm wrong when I do, and I'm wrong when I don't. I'm not perfect enough. I'm DOA, dead in the water, no matter how hard I try. So if I'm succeeding, I didn't succeed enough. If I'm not taking action, there's something wrong with me there too. Does that make sense? It's no matter what I do, I feel like there's something wrong with me, because healthy guilt is when you've done something wrong, you apologize, and it's all fine. But when you have the guilt lesson, it does not stop. There's a voice in your head that's constantly saying there's something wrong with you. Why did you do that? Why can't you be more perfect? Why blah, 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 blah. It's that voice in your head. And so for me, It's learning, and how I teach my clients, it's learning how to manage your lessons, because the other lessons could be fear of intimacy. It could be feeling like a total loser because you can't ever achieve enough. It could be money, discipline, self-worth. It could be not able to speak up for yourself. It could be fear of rejection or paralyzing fear of rejection, and those are people's particular things based on their fingerprints.
Okay.
I know. You're
So
looking at your fingerprint going.
I am, and I'm wanting
know.
to take a picture of my hand and send it to you while we're here on
Do
this
it.
conversation, because you talked about something, and I want to clarify, because you
Yes.
said the guilt story, but there is healthy guilt. It is about
Yes.
connecting to our values and our boundaries. And
Yes.
it's what is part of our course correction autopilot, that when it's set to empowerment, it catches us when we go out of alignment.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
your guilt story, to me, that would be shame.
Yes. Exactly. Because it's like when I achieve a goal, because when I moved to Los Angeles to become an actress, and when I got my first acting job, I made more than my parents did in a week in a couple days, right? So I felt
Wow.
intensely guilty that there was something wrong with me for doing that, even though that was my goal, to achieve success as an actor. But I felt guilty, and then I would self-sabotage and prevent myself from getting more work. And then when I did that, I would feel guilty that, oh my gosh, I should be working.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mm. Oh, talk about staying stuck in a cycle of
Yes.
disempowerment. Okay, so for
Yes.
those of you who are watching, yes, I just took a picture of my hand, and yes, I just emailed Alexi.
Oh, good. Let me see it.
So
That's so funny.
I love, while you're doing that, I'm going to unpack what you were just talking about,
Yes,
because
please.
that is what keeps so many of us stuck.
Yes.
is this cycle of rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And
Mm-hmm.
we feel like we're working so hard to break out of it, and
Yeah.
we're exhausting ourselves, and we're trying, and then when we get cycled back in because we haven't broken the groove, we're
Exactly.
okay. So I'm up in the north. I'm in Canada, Toronto. I know you're in California, but I
Yep.
also know that you grew up in the north. So for those of you who've never experienced this, in the winter when we have a massive snowfall and it
Yeah.
is wet and it is mucky and the snow plows haven't come out, it is so hard to drive outside of somebody else's tire tracks, because the
Mm-hmm.
grooves are so deep that they're so ingrained, they keep the car locked. And if you're trying to turn out and go and drive your own way, it keeps sucking you back in. And I think that's the visual that popped into my head as you were describing that cycle of wanting to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
but also feeling guilt and shame that you were.
Exactly. And then when I wasn't successful, I felt guilt and shame for not being successful. And that happens to be my thing, whereas somebody else could have what's called a lone wolf lesson, meaning, wolves travel in packs, right? And so imagine like they're hanging out together and inviting the lone wolf, come on, join us, join us. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm good over here, but they secretly want to be a part of. And that's a repeating pattern in this person's life, and they'll attract and create a situation where they will constantly feel that way.
Wow.
So for me,
And you
that's
can
not my
see this
thing.
in someone's hand.
Yes, it's in their
Okay.
fingerprint.
So I want everyone to know that Alexi and I just met yesterday. She does not know my history, although
No.
anyone who's been reading my books or listening to the podcast, they do. So I know what my core wound is. I can't wait to hear you see it in my hand and be able to say, yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay. So, couple things. So this is your right hand that you sent me, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you a couple markers, a couple of lines in the hands, which stand out to me. And then just tell me how you feel about it. Because like you said, I don't know you. I'm just reading the data on your hands, right? So the
Okay.
first thing that stands out to me is in your right hand, this line here is called your heart line. Okay, it's the first horizontal line right underneath your fingers. Okay.
Okay.
And notice how yours wants to go up to the middle finger, but just as it's making its way to the middle finger, it scooches over to the index finger.
Yeah,
Do you see that? Okay.
I do. I never
So,
noticed it doing that, but absolutely.
right. Okay. So if it went up, because if you follow the natural curve of that line, it wants to go up, but then
Yep.
it scooches. So if it
Yep.
went up to the middle finger, like it's naturally meant to be, that is what we call a fire heart line. A fire heart line, the heart line reveals your emotional style. And because it's in your right hand, this is you out in the world. So out in the world, your fire heart line is a me first energy, meaning its default is to meet its own needs before it meets other people's needs. Its non-negotiable need, meaning it's must have in relationships that deal with work, is called passion. You have to be living your passion. Otherwise you get bored. And boredom is the number one thing you hate. The challenge with the fire heart line is called burnout. It does too many things at once, doesn't know when to stop, and it just spins and spins and spins. Now, the challenge with your heart line is it's bending and pretending to be water because it's pointing towards the index finger. Now, the element of water is a you first element, meaning it likes to meet other people's needs before it meets its own. And its non negotiable need is emotional connection. It hates disconnect. So, what happens when you pour water on fire?
Yeah.
Right. So, this is the heart line I like to call Lady Gaga pretending to be Mother Teresa syndrome. The fire heart line wants to be all out there and outrageous or whatever living her passion looks like. And instead, what it does is it tones it down and it makes it all about everybody else instead of taking center stage. Instead of being full center stage, she's behind the scenes helping everybody else's stuff go out on stage. How does that sit with you?
That describes why I had a complete and total mental physical breakdown, because I was always playing small. I was always too much.
I've heard that too. Yep.
Loud,
I have
too
that same
loud,
marker.
too smart, too intimidating, too not dainty enough. Everything was
Yes.
about
Tone it down. Why can't you be like your cousin who likes to do things for other people? Why can't you be? It's like the message was you're too much.
Yeah.
So what if I were coaching you, because it's in your right hand, the first thing I would ask you is, okay, where in your business world, where in your public life could you potentially be holding yourself back still? Where do you need to like step on the gas when you're still being nice? Because that's just a default and it's something to learn, and you're going to have different levels of it. But just know this is one of the major markers in the hand that you're here to work out in this lifetime.
That is amazing, because this show started based on the title Unlearn the Crap.
Yes. Oh, that's so perfect.
Yeah, but then I got stuck in my groove. I got stuck, and I was starting to go off track again. And
Right.
one of my coaches looks at me and says, Kathy, where are you still repeating your cycles?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized that Unlearn the Crap was my first level, but I needed to level up. And that's where this new branding of my books and my podcasts have come from, is that we're always needing to level up. We can't stay stuck in that one place, because that was just a step.
Exactly.
And you're telling me that this is my life lesson.
That's one of them. So you're always going to be going, okay, how much, what's the next? What's the next? Because we're ever evolving, right? We're infinite beings. So you're never going to get it done in this lifetime. This will be one of your Achilles heels. The good news
And
is now that you know it, then you just focus on it.
I recently learned a human design and that I am a manifester.
Oh, and so that's awesome. That's awesome.
So
that makes so much
sounds like
sense.
it totally goes in line with that, right?
Yes, completely. Completely. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's another marker I just want to ask you about. Okay. So this is your lifeline. See this?
From my index finger down to my wrist, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
now,
I'm looking at it.
Towards the bottom, let's see if I could draw it. It looks like this.
Okay, yep.
Do you see that at the bottom of your hand?
Yep.
Okay. So your lifeline is how you be in your body and in relationship to your family. This is one of those markers. So what that marker is called desire pollution. And this falls totally in line. Yeah. And then see, like, if you go to the bottom, there's a little island. Like, I wish I could show you what I see.
Okay.
There's like a big island there, and then there's a smaller one. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send it to you, and you tell me if this is correct. Do you see that?
Yes.
So see this right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. As opposed to, so is that what it is? Because it looks like there's a line here on my end versus this big right here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I'm seeing right here. Okay. So is that what that looks like on your actual hand?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is called a challenge marker. And it's a challenge that you are here to work through. And the challenge, right, this marker, right, the Lady Gaga pretending to be Mother Teresa, is another challenge marker, because when you work through these challenges, your life purpose feels even juicier than it is now, right? Because when you're toning yourself down, when you're achieving goals, it doesn't feel as good as if when you're not toning yourself down. I'm sure you've experienced that, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is another challenge marker. This is called desire pollution. And what desire pollution is, I like to give this analogy. Imagine when you were born, this metaphor, you're like this beautiful crystal fresh pool. Like there's sparkly stones at the bottom. And when the sun hits it, you could see all the sparkles at the bottom. As you're growing up, though, your parents throw their stuff in it, like, their lawn chair, their slippers, their old stuff they don't want. And if you have siblings, they throw their junk in it too. Your loved ones, people you date, throw all their junk in it. So all of a sudden, you look down in this pool and you can't see the sparkling, rocks or crystals anymore, because there's everybody's crap in it. So desire pollution is all about understanding, like, okay, is that mine? Or is that my mom's? Or is that my dad's? And it's about taking all the crap out so that you can have this really beautiful crystal fresh pool again. So it sparkles. So it really plays in with the Lady Gaga pretending to be Mother Teresa, because you're all about letting go of other people's crap so that just Kathy, the pure essence of Kathy, can show up. How does that sit with you?
That makes perfect sense according to the fact that my total nervous breakdown had me lose everything and everybody, and my healing came when there was only me in my
Yes.
life and that was the greatest moment because I gave everything away to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you learn this? And was there a personal epiphany where you learned your own lessons in your own hand that gave you, because what you just finished telling me was literally, I never came up with the term crap myself. When I went through my healing journey and I came to write my book, the title Unlearn Your Crap just arrived in my head.
Wow.
It just arrived. I just knew it was right. I didn't spreadsheet it. I didn't research it. I didn't do anything. I just knew that that was the name. I just knew it. And now what you're telling me in my hand is literally that I had to unlearn crap in order to find myself. And
Exactly.
that has been my entire life purpose and journey. And if could you have told me this earlier before I found it out myself through life?
Yes. I could have told you this 10 years ago, or, I've been doing this now.
I meant,
I've been doing this for
could
20.
you have prevented my breakdown by giving me the information that I needed?
I could have given you the information, and depending on how ready you were to hear it, you still might have had your breakdown. Because I've read over 3,000 hands, and I can tell you a lot of those people aren't living their purpose. Because they are stuck in their lessons. They're stuck in the, I know, I should take my parents' crap out of there, but okay, whatever, I'm too busy. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yes.
depending on how ready you were to hear it, to then take action on it, you may or may not have had your breakdown, depending on where you were.
Yeah. I believe that I would not have heard it.
Yeah. Because there are
I
different
was so,
levels.
yeah, because I was locked in the shoulds. I was locked in the societal
Exactly.
expectations.
Yes.
And I was, but if I had have known, maybe it would have been faster, maybe it would have been
Yeah.
easier. How did you figure this out? Like what did this personal knowledge give you?
For me, what was going on in my life was, I came to Los Angeles to be an actress. And at this particular moment in time, I found myself stuck at a temp job, working as an administrative assistant. And every day I would see celebrities come in, pitching their stories. I was in charge of Xeroxing, just crappy stuff, Xeroxing scripts, picking up laundry, shuttling stuff to the doctor, you name it, right? Nothing that my intelligence felt like I was supposed to be doing. And yet there I was, and I was like 20 pounds overweight. I hadn't had an audition in a year, and I was very depressed. And just when I thought that things couldn't get any worse, I'm a big animal lover. My dog went in for routine dental, and it turned out he had cancer. He had a lump in his jaw, and 30 days later he passed away. And I'd
Oh,
never experienced death before, and he was like my best friend. He'd been with me for 12 years through, the trials and tribulations of relationships, jobs changing. And I just became very depressed. And at work, a friend who was an artist pulled me aside and said, "Look, you're too young to be this depressed and give up on life. You need to see my coach." And I said, "Well, what's your coach going to tell me that my astrologer can't?" Because I thought, oh, I have to, maybe it's in my chart, what all this stuff that's going on. And she said she's going to give you the instruction manual to your life. And I thought, oh my God, I need that right now. And so I went and I met with this woman. Within an hour, she pegged me. Like she knew things about me that I hadn't told anybody, right? Like the stuff I told you about the desire pollution. She told me, when you book acting work, you feel really guilty. And when you don't, you feel really guilty. I'm like, where does that say that? And she goes, it's in your fingerprint in the left middle finger. And I'm like, really? You know what I mean? I was appalled. And so in that session, I felt like all of a sudden someone saw me. Like I no longer had to hide. Like she got me on such a soul level that I felt for the first time I had the permission to be myself. And so after
Wow.
that, I said, okay, I want to work with you. How do I work with you? And I started working with her on a regular basis. In 2 months, I booked 2 commercials that paid my rent for 2 years. And I quit my job and have never looked back. And I wanted to study this. I wanted to know, how the heck do these fingerprints and lines tell you these amazing things? And why didn't I know this before? Because had I known, maybe I wouldn't have gone through the crap that I did, right? Just like what you were asking. Could I have overcome this? And so I went through a year-long training program, and I started helping other actors book work, and I started helping other entrepreneurs overcome the stuff that they were going through, simply by understanding that, oh no, you're Lady Gaga pretending to be Mother Teresa. You really deserve to be Lady Gaga, or you really deserve to have your own clean pool. Because for me, the epiphany was like, it's okay to be me. Really? When all my life I was told, tone it down. Why are you so big? Why can't you be quiet? Why can't you just help other people? Because I have the same marker on my hand too, the Lady Gaga. And I was always told to tone it down. And once I realized, no, it's okay, I was able to book work when I hadn't booked work in over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, it felt like the heavens opened and the angels sang. And it was like they were telling me, it's okay to be you. You know, and my program's actually called Dare to Be You, because it's like, how many of us stifle who we naturally are just to get along, just because our parents didn't know what to do with us.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? Because they just didn't
Yeah.
know, because maybe they had other hands and other fingerprints that they were dealing with.
Well, we are coming into an age of information, but we've been disconnected from it. I do believe that this knowledge was around since the beginning of time.
I
I mean,
agree.
we had women burned as witches. We had Hippocrates.
Hippocrates? I knew what you meant.
He knew that the healing began within our bodies and our energy and all of that, and how many thousands of years ago. So we knew this, and I think that crap that we've been taught is taking us away. And imagine if every single soul came into this world knowing that they were meant to be who they are, exactly as they are.
Yes,
And
exactly.
we weren't trying to conform, and we weren't trying to put labels.
Yeah.
This whole thing about ADHD and, all of these things, neurodiversity, it's like, but that's what makes you special. That's how you see the world. That's the way and we labeled it that there's something wrong. We need to give you a pill so that you're not yourself.
Exactly. Imagine what a different world it would be if people just were themselves and were happy with that and gave themselves permission to be that. It'd be such a different world.
That is exactly why I do what I do, Alexi, because I truly believe that when we unlearn our crap and we come into alignment with who we are, that there cannot be any anger or hatred or prejudice or racism or hunger or war.
Yeah.
None of those things can exist if we are all living authentically who we are on purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
What a world.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be so vastly different. I mean, when I was going through my certification program, I went home to visit the family, and I, of course, had to look at everybody's hands. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, no wonder you were like this growing. It opened my eyes to why my mom and my dad were the way they were and why they treated me the way they did. And all of a sudden, I
What
saw
did that
them.
knowledge do for you?
It was like I saw my mother for the first time as a human being, as opposed to my mother who failed me. I saw
Oh,
her for what her lessons were. Like she had a lot of lessons. Like one of her lessons, there's in the fingerprints, there's a fingerprint that's new to the body, meaning a soul that hasn't been around very long. You know, there are old souls who've had many incarnations. She didn't have many incarnations. And so this fingerprint represents, do you know Chicken Little? Like the sky's falling, Chicken Little, that story?
yeah.
I have one of those. She had something like 4 or 5. So when somebody has half their fingerprints are new to the body, everything scares them. Everything is fight or flight. Everything is doomsday. And my mother, everything, imagine my mother was scared of everything. So she instilled in me like not only tone it down, but something's going to happen, something bad's going to happen to us, you know?
Wow.
And so when I saw that in her hands, I actually could feel compassion for her for the first time because she and I butted heads growing up. Like we did not get along. And for the first time, when I looked at her fingerprints, I saw her. Dude, I'm gonna get choked up.
How did that change your relationship with your mother?
I actually stopped blaming her for everything that went wrong in my life that I used to blame her for. And I was able to see her for a flawed woman, you know, because we're all flawed, right? She's just trying to do the best she can. And I know when my therapist would say, she's just trying to do the best she can, I'm like, well, F her, you know? But when I saw it right there in her fingerprints, what her lessons were, like she had the cards stacked against her, I thought, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Mom, that this is what you've had to face your whole entire life. Now it makes sense that you treated me that way because you wanted me to be safe. And I never got that before as a kid or growing up with her. So I was able to see her as a human being as opposed to someone who should have done better by me as my mom. And so it helped in the healing process a lot.
Wow. What did it
Yeah.
do for your mother?
I could tell she felt seen. She felt understood on a whole other level. Because, she in her family was told to tone it down. She's a Leo. She was always out there. You know what I mean? And nobody appreciated her because her whole family was very nose to the grindstone and just do what you're told. And I could tell
Mm.
she was much more outgoing than they were. She was the odd duck in her family. And so she was only telling me what I needed to do to be safe. I needed to tone it down because she had to tone it down. And so I feel like, in a way, generationally, there was healing that took place for us that went back beyond just me and her. Do you know what I mean? On a whole other
Oh,
spiritual level.
absolutely. We come into this world with ancestral traumas. It
Yes.
gets built into our DNA.
Yeah.
As we are being formed in the uterus, we are at the expense or the effect of
Hmm.
all of those chemicals and neuro processing that are happening. And so that creates the environment that our bodies and our cells are created in. Of course.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course. There's so much I want to know about
I know.
how you can navigate in this world now, knowing, because there's a lot of family trauma in my family,
Mm,
and
yeah.
there's a lot of crap there, and I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to undo it. I don't know how to, other than let everyone live their own lives and just try to figure things out by myself. What do you
Hmm.
know when you can see the patterns between yours and the people in your family, your mother, your father, what environment you were raised in?
Hmm.
You must see the whole story then.
Oh, yeah. I see way more. I mean, something as simple as this. If you clasp your hands together, tell me what thumb is on top.
Right?
The right? Oh, okay. So now switch it so that the left thumb is on top. Does that
Okay.
feel weird?
Oh, it's awful.
Okay. So I did this with my family. My left thumb is on top and your right thumb is on top. So the left thumb on top means I'm a right brain lead, which means I lead with big picture, emotional connection first. You with the right thumb on top, if you're wired, the normal way of this, means you like sequence and details first and then connecting a relationship second. How does that fit for you?
But
Because you might be
no,
reversed.
that does not fit for me because I am a big pitcher. I'm a creator.
Okay.
I don't like dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Okay, good. So then what we call reversed. So imagine if your parents did this and they were the opposite of you. Imagine the communication going like this. Something as simple as knowing, am I a right brain lead or a left brain lead? And is my family? Because my parents were left brain leads. I wanted to connect. All they wanted to do was sequence. And I would always be like, why can't you just see me? Why can't you hug me? Why can't you know what I mean? And they just wanted to get the shit done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something as simple as that. And I would tell my cousins, oh, that's why you and your parents, blah, blah, blah. And light bulbs went on for my whole family. And they were able to see their parents in a different light, just like I was able to see my parents in a different light. And I was able to then not just see them again as parents, I saw them as human beings, and explained so much knowing what was in their hands because, you know, I know we're supposed to take care of our own selves and let them be whatever they are. And there's something to be said about understanding their blueprint and what drives them to go, oh, it's not me. It's their stuff. It really, truly. Do you know what I mean? And there's just
You get
something
to a
very
place of
satisfying.
acceptance. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Because then otherwise, I'm always thinking, oh, it's just I have to do all the work. You know what I mean? Why don't they have to do the work? But then when you see, like, oh, because they can't do the work because this is how they're wired. It's like, okay, all right, I could let that go now because that has nothing to do with me. Their fingerprints have nothing to do with mine. If you think about it, their hands have nothing to do with you.
So, one of the things I like to talk about in Unlearn the Crap is that we can release the traumas and the stresses and the DNA that are ancestrally into our bodies just by cutting the cord to it. And cutting the cord does not mean we have to go into years of talk therapy and dig up bones, make re-traumatize and everything. I know how to do it energetically and through the processes that I use with my clients. You just did it through hands and understand and coming to clarity and understanding that this isn't something that we need to carry.
Yeah. And it depends again on where the person's at. Because I have clients who, even though they know, granted they haven't had their siblings or their parents analyze, they still want to hang on to it. Do you know what I mean? Because they need to be right.
Choice.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the other part of it is when you understand that you now have a choice.
Yes.
That you can carry this story or you can transmute it into using one of the universal laws and look at the polar opposite or look at the relativity and create a new perspective. You can this story can be empowering or it can be disempowering. And so many of us want to carry that justification. Well, I am the way I am and I am small because of this, or I am not achieving what I need or want or anything because of this. And it gives us, it rewards the victim instead of rewarding the warrior.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So now I got a good question. That gives you, that gives you clarity and understanding for what is.
Yes.
How do you use it to create the life of your dreams and live on purpose? How do you use it to be your life purpose blueprint?
It's interesting. It comes up because my non-negotiable need, like yours, is passion, right? And it's weird because when I realized that it wasn't anyone's fault and that everything is choice, like right now at this juncture in my life, I'm having to go, okay, well, then what do I want? If I could have anything, what do I want? What sounds fun? What sounds, because I feel like I've accomplished a lot of what I've wanted to. And so I'm kind of trying to figure that out now. And so how I use this blueprint is when I feel crappy, then I look at my hands and go, okay, where's that crappy feeling coming from? Oh, it's because I feel guilty that I feel like I shouldn't be as big as I want to be. Or oh, I shouldn't charge that much. Or oh, I shouldn't put that video out. So it comes in handy when I'm out of alignment and I feel like crap. Then I look at my blueprint. Or when I'm not achieving a particular goal or when things aren't going right, I just need to look at my hand to course correct, right? Because it's kind of like a map, also like my North Star, my compass. And it's like, oh, this is what I need to do. So it helps me course correct and it helps me stay on path.
That is amazing because I only knew how we could do it with our emotions and with the
Mm.
biochemistry of the results in our body, understanding our energy systems, our chakras,
Mhm.
how we feel, all these other things. But this is a literal
Yes.
map that we
Yes.
can look at.
Exactly.
And when we feel lost, we
Yeah.
have the GPS of this is where I want to go.
Yeah.
And this gives us, that is
Yeah.
so freaking amazing.
Yeah. Because and how I can I tell you a quick story of
Yeah,
to
yeah,
illustrate
yeah,
what we
yeah.
just said? When I started online marketing years ago, um, I decided I'm going to create a digital program. I'm going to make money in my sleep, and that's what I want. So I spent all this money, thousands and thousands of dollars to learn all this stuff, put together my first program. A friend sent it out to her list, and I'm thinking, ooh, I'm going to make a lot of money. No
Yep.
sales, no sales, zero sales. And I was so bummed. Crickets, right? And I was down to like my last dollars. And I was so upset because I had spent months, thousands of dollars, time, painstaking to put this program together, and nobody wanted it. And so my boyfriend at the time said, hey, you're always telling people that within 30 seconds of looking at their hands, you could tell them why they're stuck and how to get them unstuck. So coach yourself. Look at your own hands. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that before? So I looked at my hands and I realized one of the markers in my hands has to do with emotional connection. That's my non negotiable need. Not only do I have to be Lady Gaga in front of an audience, but I have to have emotional connection. Well, how much emotional connection does a digital download product create? And how much of a stage do I have with a
Mm,
digital download? Nada,
ooh,
right?
ooh.
And when I realized that, I was like, oh my God. So I revamped everything, tossed that program out, created a new program, offered it. My friend sent it out to her list. I had 30 people sign up for the free training, and 17 people showed up to the call. 7 people signed up for my program. And I was off and running simply because I used this blueprint to go, oh, I was not meeting my non negotiable need. And by creating a program around my purpose, I then had success and I just built on it.
I, I got to thank you so much for sharing that story because we live in a world of
Mhm.
still shoulds. And I
Yes.
spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to learn what I thought was something that was new to
Yes.
me, online marketing, because I was
Yes.
used to being in the physical world and I could talk to people and I could provide service and it became a win-win-win, right? But then
Mhm.
I moved into after my breakdown after COVID, I moved into this new world. And so I didn't trust my own self. And so many people are like, but I bought this program and I trusted this coach and I trusted that. Why isn't it working?
Yes.
And what you're saying is when we're trying to do us under somebody else's blueprint, it's never going to work.
No, because their blueprint does not look like yours. Chances are, if it worked, then you have similar blueprints. But if it didn't work, then you don't. So the best thing to do is take the stuff you loved from all these coaches and create your own thing around your purpose.
Okay. So I always tell people the very strength of their empowerment comes from know thyself.
Yes.
And what you are saying is the exact same thing. But we're carrying around our book. We're carrying around
Yes.
our what did you call that?
Instruction
User's
manual.
manual? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Your clients must be so in love with you.
Oh yeah, because even though like I teach group classes, because I know their blueprints, I can then point out certain things that are specific to each person because of their blueprint. Do you know what I mean? Like we can all do social media, but the people who have emotional connection are going to do it differently than the people who are Lady Gaga versus the people who have more like a Clint Eastwood or Lone Ranger type of heartline that just want to be left alone. Right? Because those people exist too, because there's a marker that says they're more like the Lone Ranger. So how do they do social media? Or how do they do marketing? They need personal freedom utmost, number one. So they don't want to connect with people. They just want to be left alone. So digital products would be great for them. You know what I mean? Just put it out there and then be done.
Do it through affiliate marketing and let a third party sell it. And you don't,
exactly.
Yeah. Wow. I am, my mind is spinning and I knew I was going to be blown away by you. I knew the minute I met you. That's why I said I have to stop talking to you because I don't want to waste a moment of this. And I know that I could unpack even more in our conversation.
Oh my God. Yes.
Because there's so many other things that I didn't know we were going to have this conversation.
I know. Me either. I love it. I love just living in the moment.
Yeah. So tell me your greatest success story with a client where they learned their blueprint and how did it change their life?
Wow. Okay. Let me think about that because there's several. So one would be because this is when I first started. She was an actress also. And, when I met her, I said, oh, you just like I did with you, like I did a free mini reading for her at the time. And she has the Lady Gaga because I have that marker. I tend to attract a lot of those, right? Like you and me totally relate. So she had the Lady Gaga pretending to be Mother Teresa line also. And she was signed up for my group program. This is when I was doing them locally in LA. And she missed the first day in class because she booked a commercial. And not only did she book a commercial, but a theater company in LA looked at her script because she really started owning it. They looked at her script and decided to produce it and made her the director and star of it. And then she did a short film that somebody else produced. So she was getting all these opportunities simply by knowing that one marker that she was Lady Gaga.
Wow.
So for all you Lady Gagas out there, you know what I mean? And you know who you are because like tone it down. Common thing that's been told to us, And then another woman who I think she was in her 60s at the time. She had been wanting to create retreats for women in Hawaii to get deep rest. And she had been working herself to the bone. And then when she understood her blueprint, she finally gave herself permission to do it. And I told her one of her homework assignments was to just go to Hawaii, maybe just scope it out for a potential retreat that you're going to do somewhere in the future. Within a couple of weeks, she called me and said, oh my God, guess what? I found a place. And she had like 8 people signed up without even having a website or a free class to introduce people to it. She just started telling people, this is what I'm doing based on her blueprint, because she felt she had the permission to be herself. Just that permission level. That's why I do what I do, right? You help people clear the crap or unlearn the crap. For me, it's like, then on the flip side of that is permission to be you. Like,
Wow.
once you clear the crap, you get to be you. And sometimes people don't know. They inherently, I think everyone inherently knows who they are, but because we've been taught so much crap, we forget. Right? So
Yeah.
when they unlearn the crap and then when they see their blueprint, it's like, oh, yes, that's me. That
Yeah. Yeah.
recognition.
I'll never forget reading a book by Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, and he said, "Your heart will know the truth when you hear it."
Yes. Yeah.
And so we don't need. I'll never forget that, because when I call it my happy tail is wagging, because when I feel that feeling, I'm like, there it is. And so I recognize where it is, but I don't necessarily know when I'm out of it. And that's a
Mhm.
process of learning and practice and having
Yes.
more and more tools in the toolbox, just like, I use
Mhm.
my tools, and now you've got me hooked on this. I got to know more, and I want to work more with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to highly recommend that everyone reach out and talk to you. So,
Thank
Alexi,
you.
for those people who are blown away by this conversation, who want the clarity and the understanding and the acceptance, and they want to know what crap's in their way and how they can just easily swing into their own alignment where things start falling into place, how do they reach you?
They can reach me by going to my website, askalexi.com, ASKALEXI.com.
Perfect. And so you're
Yeah.
still accepting new clients?
I'm actually I'm not accepting private coaching clients, but what I'm doing now are cohorts of people, like-minded people who want to understand their blueprint. And what that is, it entails like a class. You're going to learn it in a group, because like when you and I start talking about our Lady Gaga pretending Mother Teresa and how it manifests in our lives, like when I hear your story, I get so much more about myself hearing your
Yeah.
story. And so I'm doing it in groups now so that they could recognize themselves through other people who have similar markers. And then after they get their blueprint, there's going to be like a 3-month mastermind where you get to dive deeper into understanding your own blueprint and how to use it in the world.
This is fantastic, because that's my mission with this podcast, is that people will hear or see something or somebody that will spark a light bulb within them, so
Mhm.
that their light gets shine on the things they need to
Yes.
be aware of. Because one of
Yes.
the things that I used to say, I knew there was something wrong. And I used to
Mm.
say to people, you're so lucky when you hear the voices in your head, because at least you have the words of what is taking you out of alignment. I
Yeah.
never heard the voices. I was just so on autopilot. I was just stuck in the
Mm.
grooves, and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And I didn't have that perspective and that ability to see. And you're
Mhm.
showing us how we can learn to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Alexi, thank you so very, very much for this conversation. I could talk to you for hours.
Oh my God, totally. Thank you so much for having me on here. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but I love what I do. Um, because when I look at someone's hands, to me, I'm really looking at your soul. And I feel like, you and I connected immediately, but now that I know even this much about you, it's like I just feel even more connected to you now. So thank you for
Oh,
sharing your hands with me.
I'm not letting you out of my life. Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, good.
The universe divinely aligned us, and I
Yes,
trust the universe knew what it was doing and that we were supposed to be in each other's life. And I am so grateful.
me too. Me too. Thank you.
Until next time, And we have another fantastic guest on Unlearn the Crap. Thank you, Alexi.
Thank you, Kathy.
This has been Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Tune in each week as Kathy challenges you to rethink everything you know about personal empowerment and societal structures. Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.